Hello, friends. There is a passage from Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi. This comes from the chapter chapter 19, called "My Master in Calcutta Appears in Serampore," which is a miraculous event, and the chapter sort of surrounds that. But prior to that, Yogananda is talking about a young man that he invites to meet Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru. And he's invited him to come and receive Kriya initiation. But his comment is that the young man is saying, I wonder if there are soul potentials of my inner soul that I have never probed or never explored. And, extrapolating out that, we don't, so much that we don't know. And Yogananda's observation in that context was the trivial preoccupations of daily life are not enough for man. Wisdom, too, is a native hunger. And similarly, in the Bible, I was just reflecting, one of the little passages in Proverbs is, wisdom is the principal thing. Get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Which is kind of a way of saying the same thing in slightly different words. But think of all the, I assume many of us eat 2 or 3 meals a day or more perhaps, and, or snacks, or we have tea, or we have, whatever your rhythm includes. I assume that most of us get enough to eat. And presumably it's reasonably nourishing. But how many of us really nourish our minds or our understanding, our consciousness? And we often think, I know this is true for myself, we often think that someone else will give us the understanding that we need. And it's not to say that a wise soul cannot provide enormous insight, remarkable intuitive understanding, and can sometimes, we would see this with Swami, and he would see it with Yogananda, that an apparently complicated situation, and Swami would just say, well, let's do this. And you would think, isn't he going to weigh all the alternatives and, write down all the good points on one column and all the bad points on another column and, add them up and, let's see, the ratio is, 15 to 13 or 17 to 14 or whatever it may be. Okay, well, let's go with this one. No, he could discern the needed trajectory often almost instantly. What it required was he would go inside. He would let the situation resonate within. And that is the result of a lifetime of nourishment of the wisdom variety. And it's not to say that there isn't time for the rest. Swamiji loved a good, funny story or comedy movie, or loved reading P.G. Wodehouse, the British humorist. So, those aspects of his nature were also well nourished as well. But just meditate on this simple thought. Wisdom, too, is a native hunger. Because when one part of our nature goes unnourished, it's almost like we're tilted over, or that we're, limping on one leg. We don't really have the use of one leg, or, that we are leaning off kilter or something. There's an element missing, and we can nourish that element. Meditation helps, certainly, but also just to kind of consider all the different energies coming towards us, and how do we understand them? What do we make of them? What kind of universe do we see when we look at it? What barriers do we perceive, and why? Where do they come from? What is their actual reality or nature? Wisdom, too, is a native hunger. With all thy getting. Think of how many years in a normal person's life, decades perhaps many decades, are spent making a living, working for the man, whatever it may be. And not to say that those things aren't important. Of course they are. We have to pay the bills. We have to support our family. We have to do whatever it is that is required to be done. But with all thy getting, and so we will be getting, we will be receiving. With all thy getting, get understanding. Because at the root of it all, that understanding can help us to navigate the challenges of life very certainly with deep, deep understanding, or deep awareness coming up from the inside, certainty of knowledge, of understanding. Find that in life. It is well worth tuning into, and ultimately sharing with others as we're able to do so. Namaste.